Alright, yeah, welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be jumping into Strixhaven Standard. I know usually when a new set comes around, we immediately go to Standard, but that's usually because the Early Access event exists, and that's the primary place where Wizards wants us to play the game. But now they're not kind of forcing us to play the formats we don't want to play. We've been doing Historic all the time, and it's been really fun, but I thought I'd take a little bit break from the Mystical Archives to check out some of the new Strixhaven cards and the new Standard environment as well. So I figured we'd go in with probably one of the hyped cards from the set, I would say, the Venerable Warsinger. This thing seems really, really good. Venerable Warsinger is a 3-mana 3/3 with Vigilance and Trample. Says whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may return target creature card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the amount of damage that Venerable Warsinger has dealt to that player. So it's Boros reanimation in a sense, but it's pretty much like low to the ground reanimation. So what this basically means for us is that we can produce little creatures, and we don't really mind if they die, because then once we've got this Warsinger around, we can reanimate them later down the line. We've got a couple of cards that we're really going to love to reanimate, as well as a couple of ways as well to make sure that Warsinger is large enough to trample over our opponent to hit those mana value X's for us. So really we want to be just hitting 3. So, you know, any value that gets blocked there, we need to make up for it. So one of the ways we're going to be doing that is through Luminarch Aspirant, one that you will probably know from Zendikar. 2 mana 1/1. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you put a counter on a creature you control. So we can use that to make the Warsinger a 4/4, swing through a 2/2, for example, and then we can reanimate a 2/2. That's the idea. We also have Sparring Regiment as well, a card I didn't think would actually be all that good, but seems to be pretty reasonable. It's a 3-mana enchantment, and it has the new Strixhaven mechanic Learn attached to it. A mechanic, I guess, that's mostly resigned to the limited formats, but for this one, I actually think it's pretty good. So, Sparring Regiment, when it enters the battlefield, you learn. So you go into your sideboard for a lesson card with a card type lesson, and then put it into your hand. So it's basically 3 mana, draw a card, and then also, whenever you attack, you put a counter on target attacking creature and then untap it. That means that we can again start pumping up the Warsinger to try and get up our larger creatures. We can also produce very, very quick threats as well, because we have the Seasoned Hollowblade in here, which only has to discard a card to gain Indestructible until the end turn, but it will tap, so if your opponent does it pre-combat, they can stop the damage coming through. But if we can get Seasoned Hollowblade in, then we can start making him really large with the Regimen. Same thing kind of goes for Bone Crusher Giant. It is doubling up as both removal and a threat in the late game, and it's a 3-mana spell. Again, with an uncontested Warsinger, can reanimate a 4/3 that deals 2 damage to that spell's controller whenever they target it. One of the main things you want to do with Warsinger, though, because if we're just assuming that our opponent always has blockers, that probably means that we're trampling over like 1 point, something like that. What that means for us is we can actually get back Selfless Saviors and Alseeds of Life's Bounty. I'm not sure which one's better just yet, which is why I've gone for the even split. I imagine once we figure that out, one will want to be a 4 of and one will want to be a 2 of, but for now we're going for 3/3. Alseed is a 1-mana life-linking creature that can give protection to your creatures, and then Selfless Savior is a 1-mana 1/1 that can sacrifice itself to give Indestructible to a creature. So if exile-based removal is all over the place, Selfless Savior is going to lose a little bit of that value. So, you know, Skyclave Apparitions, not seen them in a while, but if they do come back, then you want Alseed over Selfless Savior, and if board wipes are very strong, Alseed loses its value there, so you probably want Selfless Savior instead. But for now, 3/3 split is where we're going while the meta still settles out, and we'll figure out which one's better. We have Professor of Symbology. This one's is probably in the flex slot kind of category, I would say. It's a 2-mana 2/1. When it enters the battlefield, you get to learn. So same as the Sparring Regiment, enters the battlefield, draws as a card, and we'll get to what you actually draw in just a second. But again, it's one of those things where if you can throw it into the battlefield, you get to draw a card. If you get it killed, the Venerable Warsinger, if it gets that X2 mana value, you can reanimate and draw a card, basically. We got Rip Apart to deal 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker, and also get rid of artifacts and enchantments. So you can get rid of an Embercleave, you can get rid of a Great Henge. It's just a really useful tool in an aggro deck's toolbox, because basically you don't really want to be running just artifact and enchantment removal, so having the option to remove a relevant card type, like a creature or a planeswalker, is really huge. It's a shame it doesn't hit our opponent's face, but I think that might just make it a little bit too powerful, so I really like the balance on this card, and it's been really useful for me. Finally, we have a one-of fun-of meme of Hakdos the Unscarred. 2 red, 2 white, 6/1. Attacks each combat if able, and then when it enters, you choose 2, 3, or 4 at random, and then it has protection from everything but that mana value number. So protection from everything but 2, but 3, or but 4, for example. Finally, Showdown the Scalds. Card that I've been quite impressed with, and I think it's been doing the rounds in at least previous Standard when Kaldheim was around. 4 mana, exile the top 4 cards of your library, so this is going to be our card advantage engine of sorts, allowing us to rebuild and get back into the game. Until the end of the next turn, you can play those cards, so you can drop your land drops that way as well. And then when your Chapter 2s and 3s come in, you can play your entire hand out, and then every spell that you cast that turn, you get to put a counter on a creature you control. So again, we can grow the Warsinger, we can grow the Hallowblade, we can do all of that shenanigans. So, let's talk about the learn side of things. So whenever we play a Sparring Regiment or a Professor of Symbology, we're going to learn, which means we go outside of the game into our sideboard to pick one of our learn cards. Our sideboard has got some interesting cards, although I think this one probably wants to come out, and let me see. Oh, I thought it was in here. I need to turn lesson, actually. Lesson is what I want. You actually think you want environmental sciences. So, I'll go into why in just a moment. Whenever we learn, we get to pick one of these cards from our sideboard. So we've got 2 copies of Reduced to Memory, exiling a non-land permanent, but we do give our opponent a 3/2 white spirit creature token. So there's a little bit of a trade-off, but being able to Banishing Light permanently any permanent seems pretty good. Getting rid of planeswalkers, big old enchantments, you know, the usual stuff. Anything of that sort is really nice. And the 3/2 shouldn't be too much of an issue. Again, we can trample over through our 3/2 and probably have a Self the Savior or an Alseid ready to push through. Spirit Summonings give us a 3/2 of our own, so we can build up the board if we really want to. The Expanded Anatomy is the one that we will most likely be picking a lot of the time. It's a 3 mana colorless card, puts 2 counters on target creature, and then gains Vigilance until the end of the turn. So turning our Warsinger into a 5/5, for example, is very useful. That means that we can start to reanimate things like Hakdos, which is really nice. It should be noted as well about the Hallowblade. There's a nice little combo with the discard, so we're going to be discarding to keep Hallowblade alive a lot of the time, but that will also allow us to fill up our graveyard for the Warsinger. Forgot to mention that. So in the early game on turn 2, we can drop like a Selfless Savior or an Alseid or even a Hakdos, so that the Venerable Warsinger can get instant combat damage and then reanimate that card immediately. So it's really nice free value on a Hallowblade there, and you might just end up discarding a card for the sake of it at that point. But yes, Expanded Anatomy is going to be able to make the Warsinger nice and large. And then finally, the Environmental Sciences is a 2 mana search your library for a basic land card, reveal it and put it into your hand. Basically means on turn 2, if we don't have any lands left, we can go with Professor into the Sciences, grab our 3rd land, and that means we can still continue our 3 mana play. I think that's much better than Mascot Exhibition, which is what I had in here before. I just don't think you're ever going to get to that 7 mana realistically. It is a great way to stabilize, of course, giving you a 4/4, a 3/2, and a 2/1, but I think the mana count for that one is just a little bit in Magical Christmas Land, honestly. So I think Environmental Sciences increasing the consistency of our deck should be probably a little bit more relevant. But yeah, that's the deck. Hopefully you guys enjoy today's video. If you do, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. I'll also be going back into the Boros Burn video as well to do some giveaways. So if you did leave a comment in that video with the correct secret word, just double check that in the top right hand corner on YouTube that you haven't got a message from me asking where I can send you your codes, just in case you have one. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy. Like, subscribe as usual, and yeah, let's get to it. This video is brought to you by the generous support of our wonderful patrons and channel members that you see here. If you'd like to support the channel and get access to cool content like sneak peeks, bonus videos, polls on future content, or access to a personal deck critique from myself every month, then hit the join button down below, or check out the Patreon link in the description. With all that said, let's get into the gameplay. Alrighty then, we're in, and this hand seems playable to me, so we're going to give it a keep. We really would have loved a 1-drop, of course, but I think with Seasoned Hollowblade here, with a Rip Apart, or maybe even just a Warsinger, I'm not sure yet. Seems like a pretty reasonable start. I don't know if we're going to get to Hakdos Manor in time. It is the meme card of the day, to be fair, so like if our opponent actually goes with like a Frostbite here, I might even just discard it, honestly. I think it's probably the correct discard. It's just a little bit too slow for a matchup that looks like this. So Hollowblade gets to live. Again, I'll probably just discard again if I really get the urge. Another Frostbite. Yeah, I mean, just going to discard, I think, the Rip Apart here. We're going to play the Warsinger. What's nice is they've used 2 spells here that could have killed a Warsinger, and now they're probably going to have to use stronger removal, and we've got a backup Warsinger. So I'm less inclined to protect the Hollowblade now. And if they don't present a blocker, and I find a way to pump the Warsinger, I can get that Hakdos out of my graveyard. So there's a Robber of the Rich. So they're not going to draw a card off of that, and I'm not going to block either. So let's kill Robber. Let's see if Warsinger lives. If they got the 3rd Frostbite, then that's going to kind of suck. Otherwise, I think we're in for a pretty decent swing here. Hit you for 6. Damage engaged. And yeah, just pass the turn here. May return target creature card with mana X value X or less from your graveyard, where X is the amount of damage that the... So I dealt 3 there, so why can't I get back... Oh, I never put Warsinger in my graveyard because I'm an idiot. Yeah, that makes sense. I was like, why isn't Warsinger in play right now? It's because I'm a silly Billy, chat. Silly Billies do those kind of things. Alright, well, let's go with a Sparring Regimen here. Get to learn. Learn a good old lesson. I think we're going to go with Expanded Anatomy. Commit the Warsinger a really large creature, and that can help me get back my Hakdos. Gonna swing in. We're trading with Anax anyway, so let's just go with a Warsinger here. Opponent could have the Rimrock Knight to pump the Anax. Which wouldn't be too bad. I wouldn't be against it. Ooh, they're just going to let it go. So that allows me now to get Anax onto the field. Absolutely. Protection from everything but 2. That's probably not a great number to hit, but at least they can't kill it now. And it's threatening lethal, sort of. No, because we can't touch it with Regimen or Anatomy, actually, so it's going to put them to 1. Bone Crusher. There you go. Alright. There's an Embereth, and Bone Crusher comes out. Highly doubt the attack here. They know about our Expanded Anatomy, so that's going to put it up to 7. So that's what we want to do. We want to just get that completely out of range of being killed. Get to swing. Up to 7. See, our opponent chooses to block here, so a trade there. And a chump there. Totally fine. Let's get back at Hackdos again, I think. Hackdos seems fine. Protection from everything but 4. That's the number you really want to hit, so basically we've won right now. We've got 2 blockers to their 3 attackers. They can Ember Breath up, but we're at 20, so even if they had like an Ember Cleave, it's not really going to make a lick of difference here. And yeah, I don't think they've got any 4-drops in their deck, so... There's a Rimrock. Fireblade Charger. Just emptying out their hand to get their dailies done by the looks of things here. And scoop them on up. Hackdos being unblockable. And yeah. Pretty good showing. So there was one occasion, actually, we could have gotten a little bit further ahead. Something to consider was that we could actually discard with a Hallowblade in response to knowing that Warsinger was going to get that 3 damage in. So we could have reanimated a Warsinger that we'd just discarded. So a little bit of a punt on my part, but thankfully it didn't end up mattering. And then obviously the Hackdos that we discarded earlier on ended up being value later down the line. So yeah, Hallowblade and Warsinger is just a disgusting combination, especially considering like what Hallowblade doesn't even need to get the indestructible as long as Warsinger can get 2 points of damage in, because you can just reanimate it straight up and then you've got a 3-1 back to block again. It's really, really good. Next game. Okay, we go first. We got the Warsinger. We've got 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop. So yeah, you can't really ask for better than this. And our mana is pretty much sorted as well. So gonna go with the Fury Calm Snarl, reveal the planes, and play the Selfless Savior. Next turn we'll go Professor of Symbology. I think we'll go Professor, right? Yeah, let's do Professor. Get to learn. We're going to put Aggro Mauling. Maybe a Reduce to Memory as a removal spell for any permanent. That seems pretty good. Yeah. That seems reasonable. Could really do with a land drop off the top though, otherwise we could be in a lot of trouble. There's a Maya Triton. So it's like the Rakdos sacrifice lists I think I've heard of. Yeah, well. Stomp Maya Triton. Missed our land drop, unfortunately. And get on in. It's possible this deck actually wants like 23 lands instead of 22, which is what we've got right now. For situations like this where we just kind of really need to curve out to at least 3 mana. Bone Crush. Well, let's save the damage, I guess. And play Alseid here. Can rip apart the Bone Crusher Giant and still continue swinging for 3. Had we had a Alseid on turn 1 instead of a Selfless Savior, we would have actually been able to fizzle this Bone Crusher by giving protection from red. Or at least preventing our opponent from even trying. Missed the land drop again. So far, though, it's not proving to be terribly bad for us, but of course, it will eventually come back to bite us. Scorching Dragonfire, exile base removal. Alright, we are finally on the board. We've got our double white. I don't think we need double red, but might as well have it, right? So we can go with Sparring Regiment, or we can get down the Warsinger. I think we'll go with the Warsinger. Only reason not to do this is if you were to assume that you drew a land next turn, then we could do 3-drop plus hold up and Alseid. Yeah. Could get punished for that. Oh, majorly punished. Alright, put this on white. Let's go Sparring Regiment, start growing the Alseid. We're gonna get... We're at 4 mana. Could get an expanded anatomy. That's going a little bit too in on one creature, though. But if it's like a Bone Crusher Giant, and if our opponent's running like Heartless Axe, it might be okay. We've only seen like burn from them so far, so if I can get something out of burn range, then that would be okay. Ugh, -3, -3, okay. Name's Assembly Worker. As you do. We go Bone Crusher Giant. Yeah, I think I'm gonna put 23 lands in the deck. I'm not sure what card I'm gonna cut, but I'm sure we'll figure it out. There's a Croxer. Let's go down one Sparring Regiment, I suppose. And Crippling Fear is a bit of an oof moment for us. So let's go Showdown. Wow. When it rains, it pours. There's Croxer again. Get rid of Sparring Regiment? No, actually, no. We'll get rid of Expanded Anatomy here. I need the Reduce to Memory on a Croxer, I guess, but they've got a spare one, so I'm not sure how well that's going to work in my favor. So we've got 5 cards. Yeah, I'm just gonna... I think next turn gonna go land... Hollow Blade, Reduce to Memory. I think that's the plan. Keep the land in hand for discard purposes, and hopefully this Hollow Blade can swing past anything our opponent will do here. Wow, they literally just got their 6th card for Croxer here. So do I take 3 by giving Hollow Blade indestructible? I can't imagine... Well, it actually... Yeah, I lose life either way, right? So... I may as well. Actually, no, I may as... Yeah, I may as well. I'm not blocking, so... Back on top decks. What a top deck. So he's only going up to 5 from the swing here, so we're just going to make a land drop and pass. So we spent the entire game desperately needing a land, and now we desperately need anything but lands. It's just how it goes sometimes, right? It's not really how you want to see it, but, you know. Just how can you be upset when your opponent has it all and you don't? That's just RNGesus for you. So they swing in. I can block, or attempt to block, 6 points of it. There's nothing I can draw here, though, at this point. Yeah, that just won't do it. Alright, next game. Alright, we go first. And this hand looks pretty damn good, so we're going to keep it. It's a Yorion list, so it's probably just a race of boredom. Who can give up first? It's probably Sultai, right? It's never anything else, so... One would assume that would be the case. Let's go with Illuminarch Aspirant. These guys are pretty damn fast at getting the game finished out here, so... I'm just going to Valky. Whatever they take, it's not going to matter here. Although it will kind of tempo swing us a little bit. And by a little bit, I actually mean probably not at all. We're just going to swing for 3 and then play Warsinger, I think. I've got no reason to get that Bone Crusher back just yet. And if I killed it, then I'm not playing anything else for my turn. So I think it's a little bit of a wasted opportunity. So yeah, let's put a counter on the Aspirant, because that's where we're always going to place it for now. Get him for 3, they won't block. And then we're going to play the Warsinger. Gonna kind of hope it doesn't die. What you could end up doing is playing around Heartless by putting the counter on the Warsinger instead. But I don't mind the cards that I currently have in hand anyway. Land means Aspirant plus Bone Crusher or Rip Apart here is nice as well. Rip Apart hitting like a Wolfwiller Haven might be quite good as well, because we want to stop our opponent from getting to 7 mana. That's the ultimate goal. So, opponent's just going to pass. The goal, I guess, is for them to turn it into a Bone Crusher Giant. So I'm going to try and put a counter on here. Now it's playing around Heartless Act. Swinging for 7. If they spend all their mana, I'll kill Valky. And I think we'll do it with a Stomp here. Well, this is sorcery speed, so we kind of have to. Get my Stomp back. And that's 7, 8, 9... 10, 11 with Bone Crusher Giant. Binding the Old Gods. Alright, so they've saved themselves a little bit of life here. Land? Not quite. Alright, well. Aspirant, Alseed. Gonna get the pressure on here, I think, and just go all in on the Aspirant. Opponent can just go land and then just kill all of our stuff, so... Like, if they've got Black Sauce and then Shadow's Verdict... Or an Extinction Event, yeah. Then that would also suck. This is what it does, though. It gets to 4 or 5 mana, it blows up the world, and then just combos and wins, basically. In this case, though, looks like we're going to be able to win the game with a Bone Crusher off the top if our opponent doesn't just win on the spot. Never hitting that 4th land, though. I did add another land to the deck as well, as I mentioned I would. There's the land. And a Seeker's Chariot. So they need a counterspell then, if they haven't got the ultimatum, which I think that's what that suggests. Yep, tapped out and dead. Cool. And that'll be that. Fast enough. A little bit sketchy at times, but... It's all due to mana, and, you know, our mana problems were that we didn't have enough. I added more, and we still don't have enough. But I think that's just variance for you. I don't think you should read too much more into that, to be honest. So, yeah, pretty good. Nice game. Alright, we go first. We have no red mana. But 1 red mana kind of unlocks Warsinger. This is so sketchy because he doesn't have any removal either. I think you just take the Mole. And this one doesn't look too much better, but we'll take it. We'll go down as Sparring Regiment. I think if I'm going to play anything on 4, it's not going to be the Regiment, it's going to be the Showdown. So let's just assume we're going to draw an extra land. We got the 3 mana, which is the sweet spot for all of our creatures, minus Hakdos. And yeah, this is kind of the worry with this hand, is we got nothing to do. But we did, luckily, top deck an Alseed here, so quite happy with that. Let's see if we can make it live. Nope. Alright. So there's our 4th land. It is a tap land, so we're just going to go with the Sparring Regiment here. And I think the plan is to go with Spirit Summoning, so we have a card to use the Regiment on. It's also 3/2 that blocks the Bone Crusher. Alright, so here comes a 3-2. I think I blocked Bone Crusher given the chance. Fervent Champion. Yeah. I didn't imagine I was going to be given the chance, but... assuming that I was... I think we'll go with Showdown here. It's slow, but it allows me to make a land drop, potentially play a 1-drop. And then our future turns do something pretty nice here. So we can go Warsinger, Professor, put counters on Warsinger. Something like that. Maybe even Warsinger, rip apart the Bone Crusher Giant. The big problem we have now is our opponent swinging in with Embercleave, because they never don't have it. That will mean that rip apart's going to struggle a bit. Ooh, Goldspan Dragon. Well, that isn't good. Oh yeah, look at my 0 sideboard. Great. What a feature. I was thinking I probably wanted to go with the 1 white, kill the Goldspan Dragon. And then I've got a 3-2 to block the Bone Crusher Giant. It's better than nothing, right? I think that's the plan. So reduce to memory the Goldspan Dragon, which is going to kill me if I don't remove it, so I just kind of have to. And then we're taking 4. Probably just dead, though. Because now I can't really kill the Bone Crusher Giant without just a straight-up trade, and that trade is profitable now. And the last card, probably always Embercleave. Because when isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Next game. Alright, opponent goes first. We've got 1-drops and 2-drops, and we can play them on curve, so we're going to keep this one. Mono red again. It's literally mono red tribal today, apparently. Great. Alright, so Alseed comes down, doesn't immediately get frostbited, so that's cool. Is it going to be Is It Temper? But Mom, I was looking to have fun today. Alright, fine. This might play into a Drawry's Disruption, or an Essence Scatter in this case. That's fine. I don't think I have much of a choice in the matter about playing into this. I've just got to go for it and hope that they run out of value eventually. So now we can play around Drawry's Disruption, so we'll go Luminarch Aspirant here. See what they got. Brazen Borrow. The Alseed. Interesting. So by playing around Censor, I've forfeited the possibility of playing Alseed, and then they draw Fire Prophecy. My god. It's just never-ending value for them, right? Land and then hold up and another counter? No. Alright, cool. Alright, so we're going to go Plains, Hallowblade, Alseed here. My main concern is our opponent having Goldspan Dragon off the top here. Red Source Goldspan is basically extremely difficult for me to beat. Looks like that's a Saw It Coming, maybe? So let's get in for some damage here. I've got double Stomp if I need it. Hit our opponent, so they can't flash in Brazen Borrower, which is probably one of my Stomp targets. Let's put this on white, play around Drawry's Disruption. It's probably going to get Saw It Coming, but here we are. I do need to find some learn cards so I can get my removal out my sideboard. And well, we found plenty of them, so that's cool. Magma Opus gets discarded for a treasure here. So that's the 5 mana they need for Goldspan. Never didn't have it. And then allows them to hold up the mana for the counterspell. Right. So whenever we cast a spell, we get a counter. It's pretty good. So we're going to be playing Professor of Symbology to go grab our spell here. We're going to hope that our opponent doesn't have... Where are we putting this? Put it on Hallowblade, I guess. A threat that will need to be blocked eventually seems pretty good. Gonna go grab Reduce to Memory. Play this on white. I think we're swinging in for 5 now, because the moment we go with the Reduce to Memory, we give our opponent a 3-2. So it makes swinging in a little bit harder. Make the attempt. Putting a counter on... We'll go Professor of Symbology, I guess. And then that Saw It Coming they've been holding. No, it's actually a Behold the Multiverse, apparently. Okay. And yeah, let's pass. Or it's not Behold the Multiverse. It's maybe the Unsummon? I honestly don't know. I'll take 3 here. My swing back is far, far spookier. Oh, it's extra turn spells. I didn't think the deck was running that. But sure. Alright, let's see a big old swing. Yeah, swing with it. Fine. Alright. Can we threaten lethal here? My turn. So, we get the Showdown's counters. So whenever we cast a spell, we put a counter on a thing. They've got 2 mana right now. So they can threaten me with a Frostbite or a Fire Prophecy in the case of their current revealed cards. I can give protection from blue to make the Hallowblade unblockable. One, two. So I can play 3 cards here. So there's 3 counters being distributed. I think one of them's going here. And you know what? Let's put the counters on the Alseed, because then we can gain a little bit of life. See if our opponent has that Frostbite. If they do, we've missed a point of damage, I guess. But we got the card out of them. I'm totally fine with a double block of bird tokens here. Test of Talents. That doesn't really work, right? Counter target instant and sorcery spell. Search its controller's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards with the same name. Well, the name is Bone Crusher Giant on the card. But I'm going to be doing it anyway, so... Let's just do it anyway. I'll send it out of my opponent's face. And put the counters on the Alseed. I guess. I should have put it on Spirit, actually. I've just realised this is getting countered. Mabby. Put the counter here. Swing with the team, gain 4. Force a couple of blocks here. So I'll discard Sparring Regimen for that, easy peasy. So I'm dealing 4 up to 16. I've got the bigger board state here. I actually could sack Alseed as well. Give, like, Professor of Symbology protection from blue, maybe? think that's probably worthwhile. Protection from blue. Discard Sparring Regimen. Give that indestructible. If they have removal for the Hallowblade, now's the time. So maybe protecting the Symbology Professor was not necessarily correct. But Alseid is a forced block now, and Brazen Borrower can't be the one that blocks it. So we got that going for us. We could actually just play Bone Crusher Giant. But we can't give protection to Bone Crusher from anything, really, so get him for 4. 1, 2, 3. We can still do this and then play Bone Crusher, so might as well gain an extra point of life. Up to 21, make a 4-3. Hope for the best, really. I mean, interacting with it... Ugh. Never mind, I was going to say interacting with it deals them 2 damage, but yeah, that's just a reasonable blocker right there. That's a huge pickup for us. So I want to go for this in case I hit an Alseid. It's only a 1-off, but it's basically going to give me the chance to potentially win. No counters from our opponent's a good sign. That's also really good. That means that our Bone Crusher lives here. Play the Mountain. It's only 3 damage, and we don't really care about the Brazen Borrower so much. So let's use that for the next creature that might want to try and block Bone Crusher. I think that's the plan. So, unblockable creature, opponent makes a land drop. Gets an extra turn, okay. That's 2 creatures, so that works. Taking another 5 down to 10. Opponent gets another blocker that I can't push through. Oh, and we just get protection from blue. Cute. Blue, please. And swing on in. Boom. Alright. There's some pretty interesting back and forth there when our opponent wasn't just countering literally every spell. That's when tempo is at its finest as far as a gameplay experience goes, right? We only got countered twice, and then the rest was kind of like tempo removal and things like that, and big old dragons. Is this really good for this deck? It's not hasty. It produces treasures for the gold span dragon to get that value, but do you really care? It's just really a 4-mana 3/4 that taps you out. I'm not sure if this is really an addition that you want to put in your deck. Magma Opus I could kind of see. Discard it if it's bad. Play it in the late game. It's pretty good then as a hell of a tempo swinger. I don't know. I'm not sure. Either way, next game. Alrighty then, we're in a little bit of a flooded hand, but we've been struggling with Mana Screw today, so we're going to take a flooded hand and definitely not draw more lands. That wouldn't happen, would it? Alright, Showdown of Scald. It's not a bad one. So we're up against Yorion again, or as I like to call him, Boreon. And yeah, we basically just play until about turn 4 or 5, our opponent wipes the board, and then we never rebuild, and our opponent wins. Let's go with a Luminarch Aspirant. There's a possible Dwari's Disruption in our future. I'm not necessarily going to play around it, though. It is an 80-card deck, right? So that means that it's not as consistent as a 60-card deck. That's what makes, you know, Yorion a very big restriction to your deck. Sarcasm for those who don't know. Opponent just passing. Interesting. Well, I'm just gonna get in for 3 here. I don't know what my opponent's got going on over there, but I want to be able to hold open my Bone Crusher Giant in case there's some flashy creature I'm not thinking of. And then we want to play around Extinction Event here, so we want to actually just hardcast Bone Crusher Giant, so that we have a threat to follow up with next turn. So now we've got an even and an odd in play. So Extinction Event has lost a little bit of its value. If our opponent goes with a ramp spell, like Wolfwiller Haven, then they're probably working their way into bigger spells, like Shadow's Verdict, which are a little bit spooky. So I want to kill their ramp. Let's go red source here. Destroy Binding. Keep them off 5th mana if I can help it. Play Professor. So I kind of think that it's reduced to memory. But I think they also might be a little bit too slow. Like, if they go Shadow's Verdict next turn, we just lose. So we can't really consider that in our plays. And none of the cards we pick here change that fact. Like, you could say Spirit Summoning as a 3/2 to rebuild, but you don't really rebuild after the Shadow's Verdict. So I guess what we could do is go with an Expanded Anatomy, because we're going to assume that we're not dead. I can't imagine I need to pick anything off with that, so yeah, let's go with an Expanded Anatomy. Again, if they go with an Extinction Event, that means that we've got an even and an odd, and we can turn one or the other into a slightly larger creature to keep the pressure going. I think that's the line. Quandrix Cultivator. Yeah, that's a big pickup for that deck from Strixhaven. So I guess we're forcing a trade here, right? Actually, if they want to block Professor here, I'm totally fine with that. If I can get in that 4 points of damage, I'm still quite happy about that. Like, Warsinger coming down, if it doesn't get killed, it's basically going to reanimate one or the other. And if it reanimates a Professor of Symbology, which is much easier, of course, then we get to learn again. We are in Extinction Event territory here, though. 2 odds. Opponent's got an even. It's a pretty easy board wipe. Scries to the top, never a good sign. And, yep, they had it. And, yep, that'll do. That's the game. They already topped, so it means they've probably just got the ultimatum here. Not much else to say about it. I don't think we can really pick anything with Professor that matters. We can grab the 3 mana removal spell, but like they're gonna get Kiorabessa Sea God, an extra turn spell, and I can never remember what the last card is, but even if we kill the Kiorabessa Sea God, they've still got an 8/8 that we can't compete with. Or a Tybalt, anything like that. So, I mean, I can play Showdown here, and it's basically just to show you guys what I would have drawn, rather than actually play out the game, because we're just dead. And they have a negate as well. Never-ending value. Alright. Here we go. They've been playing pretty quickly up until this point, so I guess now they're just looking at their deck list to find out what their ultimatum grabs. I'm assuming they've got the mana for it. I don't really care to look at ultimatum all that much, because it bores me. But let's just assume that they have the mana for it. Because, I mean, they cultivated for it, right? Basic forest or island. So I guess if they needed a swamp, Ooh, they went with a Seagate Restoration. We've got a Hackdos. Okay, that could be okay if our opponent doesn't have another Extinction event. Anything but 3. Which means Expanded Anatomy can put 2 counters on it and give it Vigilance. But it doesn't increase our clock. But if we draw a land, I guess we might as well make it larger. And yeah, here we go. Guess they didn't have it before, but they just drew it. So it's going to be ulted Professor Onyx. So I either lose my Hackdos if I let them have this, or they take an extra turn with a Vorinclex. That's 6 damage, then another 8 damage. It's not enough. I can also block it. So I just say that you can't have this. I guess Vorinclex can't even attack in because I got protection from 6, and it's a 6-1 of course, so that's not all that bad, as it turns out. And with Expanded Anatomy, I get the Vigilance, so it means I can still block on my next turn. I just need to dodge a 3-mana removal spell or a board wipe. A relevant board wipe. So Extinction Event. Shadow's Verdict, I think, is 3 or less, and Hackdos is 4, so he has that buffer, thankfully. Maybe my one-off Hackdos is actually going to win me the game here. Wouldn't that be wild? We don't even need the counters on the anatomy even now. We'd only get, I think, 1 for it, right? Yeah, so it's halved with Vorinclex. There's a Valky. Can't hit anything relevant. Have they ever put a red land down? Nope. So they never had the red land to do Tibalt, which could have dug into some answers. I've got 3 drops they could have been blocking with, for example. So I'm putting them to 3. I need the Vigilance, I think, really, don't I? I don't know if I necessarily need it per se, but I think it gives me the best chance of not dying here, which certainly holds value to me. So I hit you for 7. Top deck Bone Crusher is lethal without Hackdos. There's Yorion. Yorion allows them to flicker, omen, and also thin the deck. It's really about it, though. You would have to be instant speed removal now, so the board wipe won't do much. I think they just lost. They lost because they went for Professor Onyx instead of Kiara Best Sea God, I suppose. So thin the deck. It's hard to say whether or not this is actually benefiting them, because I can't remember how many times they've scryed so far this game. But they're ruining those scries, so these guys, if they went to the bottom, they're now just in the deck as a potential draw. You got to assume they bottomed them because they didn't need them. So yeah, 2 bottom. That's really good. And no top deck here, it seems. Wow. Wow. Oh my god. The one-of, fun-of Hackdos carrying this deck. Honestly, I was very close to cutting Hackdos. I thought, why don't we just have Showdown of the Skalds be our only 4-drop so that our curve is nice and low and I don't have to run 23 lands. But it's won me 2 games today out of, what, have we played 6? 2 out of the 6 games have been down to Hackdos alone, which sounds low, but in the grand scheme of things, when it's a 1 of and a 4-drop in an aggro list, it's a bit weird. It's a bit weird. I do love this card very dearly, as many of you probably know, because I like playing this in Brawl quite a lot. And he just makes for some really interesting games, I would say. But yeah, I am so surprised that is the case. Good lord. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe as well for further content like this in the future. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I will see you all next time. Have a great night, guys.